If you're trying to pick out a hybrid vehicle years ago, it wasn't that difficult. Look for the quirky, weird exterior and pretty much think small design. Worst case scenario, go to your local library. You'll probably find one there in the parking lot. But things have certainly changed. One offering, well, case in point. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, my bigger is better mantra typically doesn't fit in the hybrid world. But Land Rover, well, set off to change things. When I found out the Range Rover Sport Hybrid was gracing me with its appearance, well, I truly didn't know what to expect. Was it going to have dark rim glasses, library books thrown around the inside, and, well, some awkward facade to help it blend in at the hybrid family reunions? Well, it's just not the case. Pretty much Land Rover sticking with its standard silhouette, and the only way you know it's a hybrid, well, is you dive in a little bit closer here at the back insignia and note the P1400e in about the smallest font you can see. And obviously, well, that little access port at the front to plug her up. Hybrids have certainly come a long way, and could we have said this 20 years ago that a vehicle like this could certainly support hybrid technology and be accepted by the masses? Well, certainly not. It was all about hatchbacks, coolness, lots of batteries, and certainly not about payload and tow capacity, nor 0 to 60 or even top end speed. But all those things certainly apply to this vehicle, not to mention, well, sipability here when it comes to the engine. Now, when you look at the overall numbers, what I like is, well, bigger is better. Basically around about 192 inches, wheelbase about 115, and those are good numbers. Basically deliver solid interior comfort for 5 people, something that, well, hybrids typically scale down on. Now, another big number, well, is width. With the mirrors out like you see them, around about 87 inches. That compared to maybe a Toyota Prius is simply going to be about a foot less than that. This obviously going to be typical SUV style. But another big number that, well, Priuses and other hybrids just can't do, well, it's ground clearance. This starting at around about 8.5 inches at standard height, but we all know what Land Rovers can do, and it can, well, certainly rise to the occasion. Now, we all know the capabilities of the Range Rover and its off-road prowess with that all-terrain system that simply can lift this vehicle on a whim, rock crawl, get to the sand, whatever you possibly want to do. Even more so, articulation and angling of this vehicle makes you feel like you're almost going to, well, flip over, and it truly still stays planted. But one thing that I think of, well, is the wading capability of this vehicle, literally going through the water, wading, and that's just a typical off-road adventure that these vehicles can handle. But how does that work with the hybrid and all the technology? And, well, certainly you don't want to get that wet, but thankfully Land Rover says it can still do it, pretty much up to around about 33 inches. Well, if you want to take this vehicle and get it wet. In the tight spots, a vehicle like this can be a little bit more cumbersome, but one thing that helps trim things up are these articulating mirrors. Now, it's real automated, real easy to use. When the vehicle is locked, they simply automatically swing in. That's going to trim about a half a foot from its width, and that's really crucial in the tight spots with cars side by side. This is going to help passersby easily manage going back and forth, because if this mirror is out, they're naturally going to want to push it in, and, well, that can lead to scrapes, dings, and even breaks. This vehicle handles it automatically. Now, certainly when the vehicle's unlocked, swings out of place, but nice automated feature. What's also automated is ingress, to be expected on a vehicle like this, but even better, truly intuitive. Just simply put your hand right here, unlocks with ease. Want to lock it up, rub your finger there, locks real simply. Even better, access at all points. Just simply walk right up here, unlocks, knows you're there. Other vehicles really not doing that quite as well, only giving access there at the front end. So when the vehicle is locked, really nice and easy. Another place to look is the fill up area. How does it interact with the vehicle? And certainly this one is locked when the vehicle is locked. When you unlock it, well, it's still locked. Best of all, there's really a button over there by the driver that releases it. So this is just one little level of security some vehicles just aren't doing. Just because this is a hybrid, the Range Rover Sport doesn't, well, change its DNA. Still delivers comfort for 5 and the cargo, not to mention, well, the tow capacity we'll get into in just a second. Now, look at the design, pretty much that dual color sweeping all the way around, body color right through the middle, a little bit of a brushed accent down low. Nice rear spoiler, breaks up the silhouette just a little bit as this arches up, this sweeps out, giving it a modest little curvaceousness, otherwise tight lines. Now, when it comes to safety, of course, a vehicle like this is going to, well, take it to the next level. First off, the surround view with cameras on the side mirror, front and back, as well as backup sensors and front sensors. Now those sensors are ultrasonic, really giving you an alert there on the front, really diving in and pointing exactly where the touchy points are. Now the big feature is what lies beneath here. Now first thing you notice, really this huge bank of glass gives you great viewpoints, but again, with all the sensors and cameras, this is just another added feature. But what I truly like back here is what lies beneath. Certainly a power rear hatch gets out of the way. Now what you're going to find back here is around about 27 cubic feet as you see it. Nice built-in tonneau cover, really sweeps out, locks into place, secures everything visually, and obviously hides things when people are trying to peer in. Now with all the seating laid down, more than doubles to around about 59 cubic feet. Diving a little bit closer to the cargo, one thing I truly like is when the rear hatch gets out of the way, and for my 6-foot+ frame, no head-banging affair to note. Nice pull handles on both sides, as well as the automation button right here. Now looking at the rear cargo, you will notice this tonneau cover is in place. When it is down, it kind of blocks the back third of the cargo, but simply swing that up really gives you a nice viewpoint. Now this is not a briefcase of mine, but really does handle the cording and operation for plugging this vehicle up, which is up front, and I'll show you in that second. Now this is not an area really for a lot of storage, but you can swing it up. A little pocket, little foam area. Does have operation for a kind of a fix-a-flat. Underneath this, if you remove, there is a battery down there. Now these seats back here surprisingly weren't powered. To get them down, you simply pull the handle at each seat, it folds it down, makes for a nice seamless floor. Typically some of the upper end models like this do have power controls here at the back end. Now what I also like is the elevation of raising the back floor. Now you can simply press right here, the vehicle will go up and down, or you can simply hit here and it will lower. Now it's going to be helpful when the vehicle maybe putting bigger items, you need to lower it down, or if you have bigger items, or if you want to even tailgate, simply raise it up. That's going to help you maybe get a little bit better comfort if you want the feet to dangle off the back. So if you find comfort back here, one thing you might need is some connectivity. You do have a traditional power supply here for your car, or you do have this hidden outlet over here, traditional household, in this little niche. So getting to the power plant, what is the combination to get this bad boy going down the road and most notably get 0 to 60 around about 6.3 seconds? Well, it's going to be a turbocharged 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder, well, combined with that plug-in hybrid system. Now total combined, it's going to be around about 398 horses and 472 foot-pounds of torque. It's coupled to a nice 8-speed automatic transmission. Now one thing of the hybrid that I don't expect is towing capacity, but on a vehicle like this in its standard form, well, it certainly can deliver. So this vehicle had to still offer that. All that said, when properly equipped, this hybrid can tow over 5,500 pounds. Now when you're done marveling at the engine, one place you want to look also is on top of the hood, really with these nice operational heat extractors on the side fenders. Those are of course just for show, taking that stylizing we've seen on the Range Rover itself. Now when it comes to the grille warfare, nice upper grille here, mostly operational on this side. This portion being the hybrid technology with this open flap here, connecting with ease. Does have a nice legend beside it, lets you know well how charged up the vehicle is. The true grille really down low, tons of airflow on the outer portions, even right through the middle, and these niches really letting the air really engulf this front end. Now with the great design of this vehicle, one thing you'll notice is really the weight of the doors, and why I mention that is, well, because sometimes you just don't fully close them. It takes just an extra heave to get them back closed. What I love is the Cinch technology. Pretty much get it about right and it closes the rest of the way. Is this seen on other vehicles? Certainly, but I like the fact that it's here. The hybrid certainly was a wow factor, but the infotainment and climate control system really housed under huge touchscreens really set the tone for the inside. Now across the top, one thing you'll notice really is the split screen showing you kind of your favorite quick zones, the media, navigation, and so on. When you select it, it's going to go full screen, gives you a ton of quick view. Do have shortcuts down below. As always, hit the home button. That'll get you back to where you started. Now plenty of settings that you can go through, right down to the camera setting. This is a surround view, allows you to kind of dive in, look at what lies beneath you. Even better is it's really an HD quality. Now if you do put it in reverse, that will take over to a full screen, and I just like the clarity that it provides. Now when you're in park, go back to this typical setting, but if you get lost, again, the home screen. Now the biggest really change for me was this down below, this iPad size interface. That's really innovative. aggressive in its approach when it comes to usability and, well, driver satisfaction. Now, first off, really what you're going to notice is the airflow. Obviously, separate indications for both occupants. I do have it synced right now, just makes life a little bit easier, but you can dial in specifically your fan speed here on this side, temperature, but when you do unsync it, you can obviously set the temperature on this side. You have to go back to fan speed to change this. That's just kind of a two-step approach. When you need to change the temperature, you turn the control off. That's going to give you dual zones. When you need to change the fan speed, of course, turn the fan speed knob back on and simply set it. That just takes a little bit of learning to get used to, but pretty much everything is housed right under this big screen. Now, obviously, climate control is much more than airflow. It also goes right down to the seating. Now, this is kind of, again, real intuitive, real easy to use. Now, if you simply want your back to be heated or cooled down, this right now is on heat, but if I simply turn this, it turns to cold. Now, you can turn off the bottom and the top or vice versa, and of course, you can do it for the passenger as well. Now, this screen down below is much more than just the climate and seating. It does have vehicle settings as well, and that relates really to your all-terrain knob here. Take it off auto. That allows you to select on the screen and gives you a nice visual of what's going on. Now, certainly as you change this, the vehicle is going to act different, certainly raise the overall height, of course, on the rock crawls and so on. As you know, I stay away from this. I simply leave it on auto, which is just a lot easier. Now, obviously, when you're on the seats or the climate control, I typically left here. It's just a nice visual, but sometimes you really want it to do more than just the climate. So what you'll typically do is drag this down. Now, it's going to give you the dual purpose of what's going on up top, bring it down below. So that way you can kind of put your navigation up on the screen up top, down below your radio. Now you can simply scroll over. This is going to give you your phone. Again, tons of dual specificness when it comes to using this. You can kind of integrate from top to bottom. Sleek is an understatement, and we noticed it there on the dash, but also right between the front occupants as well. The cup holders hidden underneath here. Nice grip, nice springy material, room enough for two, as well as electronic devices if you want to store them here. Now over here again, this is for your all-terrain options and some other various controls, especially your electric vehicle. When the vehicle is charged, you can go all battery, and you do have electronic parking brake. Between the front occupants, nice oversized center console, but most importantly is what lies beneath. Not typical storage, but instead a nice cooler. Now that's going to kind of lift up out of the way, and what you'll notice is it's really nice and deep and illuminated, so you can put a couple of beverages in there, keep them cool, and obviously the cooled setting is here letting you know it's working. Now for connectivity, USB connections as well as traditional power supply. Coupling nicely with the digital displays in the middle of the dash is of course the gauge cluster, all a big digital readout for the tach and speedometer with tons of information right down the middle, specifically as it relates to the hybridness and, well, your fuel range. Now obviously what's going on the right is the charge, the eco, and all the power modes, and of course your gear select as well. But this truly is innovative and, well, couples nicely with the rest of the design. Not finding any typical buttons when it relates to the stereo, any of the innovations there on the dash. Well, you're not going to find them here on the steering wheel as well. Just nice, sleek design, basically your entertainment here on the left side, as well as your cruise control on the right side. But again, nice and sleek, and the overall design really couples nicely. If you talk with your hands while you're driving or while you're on the phone, one thing to be careful of is the motion activated sunroof. Just simply moving your hand over activates the screen to open up. Now certainly you could go old school and use the provided buttons, but, well, that's just not innovative. Backseat drivers typically get the raw end of the deal, but not here on the Range Rover Sport. Outer posts really feeling like captain's chairs, and when there's only two back here, there is a nice center divide with extra elbow support and dual cup holders. Now certainly when it's in place, well, you're going to have nice room for three occupants. A tri-zone system would be typical and good enough on any sport utility, but not here on the Range Rover Sport. Most notably quad zones with 2 zones in the back, fan speed as well, and plenty of vents both here in the center console and up above. Down below you will find connectivity in the form of 2 USBs and a typical power supply, as well as a household outlet. Now the only problem is the household outlet is kind of under this flap here, makes it a little bit more difficult to get to. Wouldn't hurt to maneuver that the other way, so this flips down, easier to, well, look and see the plug. That does it for this edition where we're in a test drive behind the wheel of the 2019 Range Rover Sport. P1400e model, reminding you that this is a hybrid. And the only way you're truly going to know that is, well, when you're interacting, and obviously the charging technology there on the gauge cluster, as well as when you plug it up here and there. But at the end of the day, it's truly a Range Rover at heart, delivering all the technology, the bells and whistles, and the overall comfort we expect. So certainly we might nerd things up, but it's in a more subtle approach. So the first thing people are going to think is, well, that's a nice ride. Never going to know that, well, you'll blend in quite well at the hybrid reunions. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.